Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we finished verse 8, and verse 8 talked about what does it mean to put your mind in me, and what does it mean to put your intellect or your buddhi in me. So when we said putting your mind in Ishwara's, acknowledging Ishwara's presence, it means to recognize that your emotions play a big part in your life, and they are one of your first indicators as to how much and whether you are aligned with stories that are keeping with reality. So if our stories are slightly off, then there will be some kind of a sensation about that. And that sensation is feedback. That is God talking to you. So there's no need to listen to God somewhere or someplace. You are always being talked to, communicated through these emotional indicators. And thereby, by acknowledging them and even praying, may they become clear and loud. May I become sensitive to these emotional indicators, and may I have the strength to identify and the discernment whether I am interfering with my own prejudices, and to recognize whether they are these raw, right, indicators of what has to be done. Thereby you are asking Ishwara in meditation as a form of prayer or help. Help me to be clear, absolutely clear, so that I can be confident in what needs to be done. And I can then have the confidence and assertiveness to do just that. And thereby, by putting your mind in Ishwara, you're acknowledging these indicators as Ishwara in you speaking. Thereby, this is the beauty of Vedanta, Advaita, is that we don't look for things out there, we find them in here, because you are given this wonderful instrument and it is capable of taking you very far, and thereby there is no sense of I am not worthy or I am inadequate, because everyone is given these very indicators. So this means in a relationship you are equally given an opportunity to listen in, tune in of those early warning signs, what needs slight correction. You know what that is. I cannot give you, it's too many examples, too much variances, but everyone has those signs that need to be looked into. It could be with your child, it could be with your parents, it could be with your spouse, and these are your golden opportunities to attack it as soon as you, or as early as you feel comfortable. Sometimes in the Vedic system, we have a certain way how to communicate. Because suppose something is not going or working out well, suppose. Now, it's easy to kind of just come and say, hey, I want to talk to you. But you have to be sensitive. Is the timing right? Have I collected enough information? And am I perhaps emotionally charged? You know that emotionally charged situation where in that moment it seems absolutely rational that the little thought that you've concocted, you've cooked up in your head, seems absolutely convincing, and you will even stand up for it. You'll say, this is absolutely true. Give it some time. Maybe this is something that we can do different next time. And by giving ourselves some time, you may be surprised how different your opinion may change the next day, just 24 hours after. Therefore, whenever we are emotionally charged, our intellect tends to go down. High emotions, lower intellect. So this means the more, and some institutions use this to the advantage, to just get you hyped up, hyped up, hyped up, and one doesn't really think. And since it becomes so addictive, it just becomes a trap. And thereby, we have to not fall for this sort of a easy way left versus the hard right. The easy left versus the hard right. The easy left is always just feel, identify, just be in your heart. Wonderful. But also, I have to bring my discernment, my viveka. That is Krishna's, for us, words of saying you are a thinking being. The highest use you can use your being as a human is discrimination, discriminative inquiry, thinking. And how do we think? As I said, we become a lot more clear when you give yourself some time to collect yourself, to bring some more information to the situation. And then put your buddhi in me. This is the same principle. It means develop that nuanced thinking by self-reflection. So whenever something happens, that is your opportunity to go into self-inquiry. What stories am I telling myself to feel like this? What narratives am I playing my mind right now that's producing this emotion in the body? By slightly changing the story, by looking at it from a different angle, I'm not saying now making up a story, but changing it from a different angle, the same situation elicits a different response. Same situation. So this means the question is then, what else does this mean? What else could this mean? He or she is late. He or she hasn't hugged me. They don't love me. What else could this mean? Thereby you become more of a curious person rather than the one who labels situations. I'm more of a curious person. I'm interested. I feel there's some disconnection between us, between a situation. I just want to bring it up. Do you feel that? No. Okay, maybe it's my thing. Okay? Becoming a little bit more discerning, inquirous human being. Now, Krishna wants to get more specific. How specifically do we do this? How do we become more discerning? Through what methods? In the light of chapter 12, devotion. This is what verse 9 onwards will discuss. Verse 9, Atha chittam samadhatum na shaknoshi mayisthiram apyasa yogena tataha mam icha aptum dhananjaya. So if you're not able to absorb your mind steadily in me, if you're not able to, maybe your emotions take you on a ride, or maybe the mind's too busy, okay? And it's not possible to stop it so easy. Then what do? Practice yoga. What is this yoga? Okay. How long does it take to practice emotional and intellectual refinement? How long is that refinement? How long does it take to refine your intellect and your mind? All life. Excellent. Therefore, it becomes abhyasa, practice. That's what Krishna is saying here. That means there's no set period. There's no resting. It's supposed to be all life. So this gives us permission. Hey, wise or not, it is all life refinement. And this is beautiful to hear. We are hearing from the Lord. There's no need for pseudo-spirituality, establishing myself, escaping from situations, denying it doesn't exist, trying to distract myself. There is a certain duty in this world that is to refine my intellectual and emotional makeup through whatever means we have available for us. And how does this abhyasa, this practice, work? How exactly does it work? Well, let's bring it to science, a little bit more modern. In science, there are generally 3 brains that are given to us, that they name out. The bottom brain, we'll just call it the bottom brain, is you could say the amygdala, the most primitive part. And this part is the freeze. Something happens and we freeze. Maybe we get confronted with a situation that is emotionally charged and we just, right, freeze. There's nothing to say. I'm not able to articulate my words intelligently. They're not coming out smoothly. They're breaking. I'm not myself anymore. Something just went off. That's the amygdala. Can you function while in this mode? No, no way. No matter how intelligent you are, I promise you, we will shut down. We will turn into a ordinary freezing mode person. And that can be a little bit embarrassing, like, wow, what happened here? I'm so intelligent, and now all of that intelligence just went out the window. Amygdala. The midbrain, slightly up. Maybe the up is called amygdala, it doesn't matter. The bottom, now the middle. The middle is fight or flight. So this is where I get threatened. And the first thing you want to do is protect yourself. You want to protect your values, you want to protect your survival, you want to protect your happiness, you want to protect your investment in this relationship with whatever it is. So here we make this impulsive decision and we're convinced this is what I want. I'm wise. They call this, as though emotionally intelligent. It seems emotionally intelligent, but it's not emotional intelligence. It's impulsive, quick. And then we say, no, I don't want this. Then later on, of course, there's maybe a regret, or maybe you feel it. I've had this with my own friend happen. Called me up, was emotionally charged, and made a bad decision. I'm not going to say what decision, but made a bad decision, and it injured our relationship. And I knew that they made this error, but they were not hearing, they couldn't hear me, because they were so emotionally identified with it that it seemed like the right decision. So I kept it quiet. I didn't say anything, because we had such a close relationship. And only about 6 months, 7 months later, this is what we call adrishtapalam. It started to arise in me. I was treated unfairly. No, you just totally sidetracked. You just took, we knew each other for so many years, and you made this decision to just not be so close to me anymore. It was just totally unexpected. And then I brought it up. And then I said, I can't do this any further until this is repaired. 6 months later only, I felt it. You see how these things unfold? It doesn't have to be immediate. So this means that if I hold it in and I try to be their friend, it's not going to work. It's not going to, because now that whole love, that I had, the reservoir empties. We call it the love bank account. And each person is depositing love units into the other's bank account by reciprocity, by doing for them, nice things, by trust. You develop that trust little by little. That trust develops by following through. So you fill up each other's bank account. And the question is, am I still filling up your bank account? Are you still filling up their bank account? Okay. The moment that bank account empties out, now it becomes a very dry kind of a thing, just like duty, like two, what do you call it? Housemates. Housemates. We don't want to be housemates. There has to be constant love delivery. Love is work. We think that love is supposed to come like that. No, love is work. Trust develops. Slowly, slowly it develops, and it takes time. Through doing things together, through sharing together, through sharing, one's emotions. This is called emotional intelligence. What is emotional intelligence? Not only being able to recognize one's emotions, but being brave enough, even if I may stir the boat, rock the boat, being brave enough to speak it out. You know, you've been complaining and I've been holding it in. This has been bothering me. Because the more we hold it in, you are not aligned with Ishvara's order. You're out of alignment. Because Ishvara's order is to speak out. This is what we did as children. Mommy, I need. And then we learn to suppress because we fear of rocking the boat. But the irony is, the more I hold back, the more it becomes, number one, harder to repair. Number two, I am not doing the other person a favor. Because by not speaking out, I give them permission to continue. And if they are troubled or complaining or in some situation and you don't speak out, you're not only giving them permission to continue, but also you're literally encouraging them to hurt themselves. Because do you think a person likes to complain? Do you think a person likes to have some things that they are not happy about? Nobody likes to complain, for example. Nobody. By me being nice, I'm going to be like Yudhishthira, I'm going to let go. The wax house gets burnt, I'm going to let go. Shakuni cheated, I'm going to let go. Bhima was poisoned, I'll let go. Letting go. Did that reform Duryodhana? No. After 13 or 14 years of letting go, of hoping it's going to work out, it didn't work out. So this means unless we set firm boundaries, you won't see a change. You will only end up hoping things change, and then you will look for confirmation bias that they change. Small things, oh, they're changing. No. So it's your duty also to set boundaries and say, this is not what I want. I want to say what my standards are, what my values are. My values are being violated. I can no longer feel happy in this situation. And I just want to bring it forward. And I would like some things to change. Here's my request. Are you willing to participate with me? Asking. We don't demand, we ask. Are you willing to participate? This is my needs. My needs are no longer being fulfilled. My needs were fulfilled at some time, but through the course of time, something happened, we were taken for granted. My needs are no longer being fulfilled. And I want to bring it forward. This is taking assertive action to keep the relationship, the health of yourself and the other person. This is also devotion. Devotion is work. Level 1 devotion, dancing. Level 2 devotion, work. Because I want to develop my emotional and intellectual complex. I want to develop it so I can come closer and understand more this reality. Therefore, every time the amygdala, the bottom or the midbrain, activates pause, that pausing trains to identify with the prefrontal cortex. That's the newest part of the brain, the one that thinks, the one that scientists use, the one that thinkers use, the one that in Vedanta uses. The newest part of the brain that we all have, prefrontal cortex. That's the part that thinks, that connects the dots, that looks at the situation. So every time we pause, that's practice, abhyasa. Consider the variables, act. Pause, act. This is, by the way, not my teaching. This is science. This is scientific studies. Polyvagal theory. I read a book, Polyvagal theory. They studied what makes people, based on our evolutionary development, how does our brain react in situations? And it said, in fact, this was the first introduction I said with us, if I don't feel that safety in a situation, where am I identified with? either the lower brain or the midbrain. That means I'm either in freeze or fight or flight, protecting my assets, protecting. And when the moment I protect, I ignore the other. That's just a natural mechanism. So it's not just being spiritual and thinking. There's also physical brain, literally physical chemistry you have to take care of. And the fastest way, according to this book, to ensure that you are identifying or using the prefrontal cortex is to slow down through deep breath. The more I slow down my breath, because when you run, when you're very active, as we used to run from animals and so on, we were at a fight or flight. That means everything's fast. The moment you slow down your breath, it goes to the newest part of the brain, prefrontal cortex. Slow down. Then communicate, because we are built to communicate. We are built to socialize. Studies, this is studies. And when we socialize, we heal different parts of ourselves. That's why I'm getting us to socialize. And there's nothing more healing to a human than to socialize, especially when it's a group activity. Therefore, what is abhyasa? It is every time I freeze or fight or flight, there's some fear, I backtrack, breath, and then just that little breath makes you re-identify with the prefrontal cortex. And that is enough to re-engage the intellect, to rethink what needs to happen. This is pure biological science, pure science. Okay, so we're not just saying just persist, just be deliberate, just persist. It's not that easy. There's a certain way how to live. You can't just persist and be deliberate in a very scary environment where things are threatening, where there's a lot of noise and things are constantly moving, children running around. There has to be certain order for you to come back to the prefrontal cortex. Otherwise, it's just survival mode. Maybe this is why the early rishis talked about, or the scriptures talk about lifestyle. I don't know, but this is backed up by science. So just a general, more simplified life, nothing big, more orderly. And the book also says what else identifies you with the prefrontal is order, predictability. If it's things out of order, like I just say, we're going to start any time here, whenever we start, then you feel unsafe, you feel uncertain. And that already makes you put back into the lower or the midbrain. So a certain order has to be there, predictability, and that makes you feel relatively safe. So I was once at a yoga retreat in New Zealand, and we were doing Kriya Yoga, the Yogananda stuff. So, and this teacher said something interesting that I never forgot. I questioned it at that time. She says, end of the day, it's really all about your brain chemistry. It's really all about keeping your brain healthy. Because as long as when your brain is healthy, it's able to, you operate so much more, and your subtle body isn't pulled down. The thing with our physical brain is it pulls down our subtle body. It's heavy, it's one heavy mass, and it limits how much the subtle body can recall, how much it can create poetry, how much it can work with words. It's amazing. Foods, some good foods for the brain. Exercise also helps the brain. Blood flow to the brain. So all of this helps us to practice deliberately. And it says, through practice of yoga, what does this yoga refer to? Anything that removes or helps you to free yourself from afflictions. So we also have yoga in every Bhagavad Gita chapter. Yoga. Anything that I do to help myself, to remove afflictions, to remove blockages, that is yoga. I think, from experience, the more we carry ourselves with our core values, like what am I here for? What is it that is to be done in this connection between us? the more you're able to operate clearly. The more I sort of don't know what is my purpose for being here, and I'm just sort of randomly just coming, then we deny ourselves that sharpness. That's one answer. We deny ourselves that sort of, I'm here and let's get this done. It's like if I come into the class and I just want to talk about anything random, I'll probably start to stutter. I'll say a lot of ums and ams. But if I come in with a certain trajectory, then the words flow very easy. The second answer is that maybe it happens because of what we call anchoring. Anchoring is when I have a certain life story with this person, and it almost activates an anger like Pavlov's dogs, like little ring, and then it just kind of brings me back into this childlike, I want to close myself, I want to feel safe. So we have to say, hey, I'm carrying myself. What is it that I am here for? Right? What conversation do I want to have? This way, we're not stuck in this mode. But we approach with some deliberation, some kind of okay, let me talk to you like this. And the moment I feel I'm losing it, it's time to leave. You leave. Gently leave. Because sometimes we stay a little bit longer with somebody, and if you don't listen to that inner voice, then your intellect starts to dramatically fall. The moment I feel, nope, it's time to go, I go now. Before, no, I'm going to stay because I'm nice. I want to be nice. But then I notice my words starting to stutter. I start to get more stupid. Yeah. Because I'm not listening to my needs. So beginning to listening to your needs, you operate at a rather, right, you carry yourself high. Right now, when I'm teaching, what are my needs? Do I feel thirsty? Do I need to look at this side of the room or this side of the room? I'm constantly listening and responding. Listening and responding. Therefore, with a friend, listen and respond like this. Now, next verse, it says, if you're unable to bring your mind back and you're carried away by stories and you're still sort of slipping, right, because the mind is so busy, then what to do? Commit yourself to a life of activity in the society, with your family, and see that very society and family as none other than Ishvara. This is Karma Yoga. Not just committing myself to, but also seeing I'm committing myself to Ishvara. This is the next verse, verse 10. Apyase api asammartaha asi mat karma paramaha bhava mad artham api karmani kurvan siddhim avapsesi. So may you be the one for whom actions are dedicated to me. We said intelligence, Ishvara pervades everything. So nothing is outside Ishvara's order. So this means everything that is done affects everyone else. Everything that our previous generations has done affects you right now. What your grandfather has done is affecting you right now indirectly. There's a story in Katha Upanishad where the son, Nachiketa, was recognizing his father giving away useless cows and useless to charity. And Nachiketa was 11, he was very smart, and he said to his father, Dad, you don't give away useless things to charity. Charity deserves some offering because that's a real charity. And when are you going to give me? Because I'm really precious. Nachiketa was that selfless. And the father was kind of ignoring him, he's just a little boy, he doesn't know what he's saying. But the son persisted. He says, no, give me, these useless cows, they have no worth. Give me. And the father, in the modern language, he cursed him, but in Katha Upanishad he says, I will give you to Lord Yama, I will give you to death. I will, take care of you. And very quickly the father, realized he got angry, his emotional outburst, and he says, "No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. But Nachiketa didn't leave him off the hook. He said, "Dad, in our tradition, because words carry weight and value, we don't just say things and we mean things. Before we say things, we mean things. Therefore, I will give myself to Lord Yama." Father, no, don't do this, please. No. In our tradition, because what you say, it affects future generations. And I will honor your words because I take words seriously. And thereby the boy then went to Lord Yama. He was spared, but he was so adamant about following the code of following your words, being deliberate with your words and following through. So he knew already the principle that everything affects everything. Everything's within Ishvara's order. What you say affects me, what I say affects somebody else, and what you and I are experiencing right now is the collective totality of all of the things that have taken place before. That's the world that we and you and I are enjoying now. Therefore, when it comes to understanding this order, that you are interconnected in this network, right now you're interconnected. Tomorrow, for the rest of your life, you start to pay attention to the quality of your actions. You make it more deliberate and more attentive and more alert. And there are two principles in the Gita that guide our actions. The first principle is swadharma. What is it that guides my actions? My swa, my own duty. This means my duties and responsibilities in reference to things that I am surrounded by in a particular situation. Now, swadharma changes. It's not the same. Depends on the stages of life. And we have swadharma for family. In a family situation, your swadharma is to do your part in the family, to keep the family together, to do your part. What about swadharma in a spouse situation? Two people are married. The primary relationship that underlies all marriage is friendship. Without friendship, nothing can last. That is the bottom foundation on which everything else rests. So, in a friendship, and on top of that there is intimacy, there's romance, but primary there has to be some friendship. So it's not true there has to be first this intimate attraction and all this. This is kind of youngsters. But as we grow up, we recognize it's really just a friendship, a very nice, warm, trustful, devoted, committed companionship that you can turn towards each other. And that feels very empowering, very pleasing. It gives you confidence. It gives you ability to shine. It helps you be more yourself. These are all wonderful things. Now, in a marriage or that union, there is always a partner that is submissive and one is more outspoken. The outspoken partner needs to learn to give the submissive one a chance to have a say. And the one that is more submissive, more quiet, needs to take assertive action to be heard, to say something. I know a couple who have been married for several years, and one of them is so bubbly, very bubbly, talkative, the center of attention, and everyone loves this person. But the other one, the man, no words, hardly anything, doesn't say much at all. Is not very outspoken, doesn't say very much, and I know them. Now, why is it like this? Well, because she always takes over. She just takes over. She even tries to take me over, but I don't allow that. And I can see, this has been happening for years. There was one bubbly type, the quiet one, liked it and he went on a ride, let me just sit back and I'll just enjoy the ride. I'm going to be on the chariot and she'll be driving the relationship and I'm going to enjoy and look around. Very nice. Reaping the rewards of this bubbly, lively person. And she just happens to need someone that is quiet and obedient. But I look at them and I say, this is not healthy. That's how I perceive it. Because he has not trained her. He has not learned to put her in her place. So she has no sense of stopping. It just goes, any direction. That's what makes her lively. That's what makes her fun. That's the irony. And he's just like this person in the background. Few words. And this has been happening for years. So in this situation, one of them has to learn to let the other person shine. I want to encourage you to speak. What do you think? I've never seen her do this. She always takes assertive action. He always lets go. He just lets her do whatever she wants. I don't think this is healthy. And she and he needs to say, I choose to say something. I choose to act. I choose to this time take affirmative action and lead. Lead for a moment. Lead for a while. This would be beautiful. This is a balanced relationship. Because there isn't the whole point of marriage to encourage each other, to let each other bubble, let their strengths strengthen. That's the whole point. Not to suppress, let the other one go like a wild horse. The other one just to keep on coming down, coming down, coming down. With a relationship, your swadharma is to, there's many swadharmas in a relationship, but the bottom foundation of a relationship is it's a platform where you let surface things arise. You let hidden things come to the surface because you are vulnerable in a relationship and your defenses go down. What happens then is all of those hidden voices, programs, unconscious programs, they bubble up. Maybe he or she will leave me. I've got trust issues. I feel jealous. That suddenly starts to bubble up. So relationship lets you recognize what are those deep-rooted notions that are buried inside me, because every one of them is in some way or the other preventing me from connecting to myself. So relationship too has a certain swadharma. To recognize it as a lovely platform where things can surface. And both need to acknowledge this. Things will surface. It's only a matter of time. If not the first year, according to science, I've done some studies on this, second 2.5 years, that's when you really get to know the person. 2.5 years. Before then, there's still this putting a little bit of a show, love, easy going. 2.5 years, things come out. Therefore, in that time, things will come out and one is given the opportunity to resolve. And there are so many methods nowadays to help yourself resolve this. As I said, CBT is a great method. There's nonviolent communication. Nonviolent communication. That basically means saying to the person, I feel, instead of telling them, calling them out, when they do something that you don't like, I felt, when this was done, I felt like this. This is how it made me feel. What I need is this to happen. What I need is this to happen. Are you willing to, work with me? Are you willing to are we willing to make some changes? So I have to communicate my feelings and my needs. If you just say your needs, this makes me feel really angry. It's like, what do I do with that information? Did you notice this when people just share their feelings? Like, what do I do with that? Oh, okay, you feel, that's your stuff. But the moment I say my needs, now the other has something to work with. because that's the swadharma of the other partner, to take care of each other's needs. Therefore, what are my needs? What do I actually need? Now you're giving the other person something to work with. That's what they want. Otherwise, it's just complain. Oh, you feel like this. Well, you work with it. That's your stuff. And then duty, raising children. When it comes to children, we have to also learn to not be so overprotective. Because if we are overly protective, we deny them the opportunity to develop their own resilience and their own skill set. They need to fall down and get up. Fall down and get up. So there is a fine line between protecting the child, but also giving them an opportunity to make their own mistakes. If we just keep on repairing and delivering everything on a silver platter, then they won't learn. I'm so glad to be born in the 80s generation where we weren't given everything on a silver platter. Born on a farm, you do your own grazing, cow milking, pigs, chickens. It teaches you humility. Oh, farm life, so nice. Therefore, it teaches children to be independent. Very nice. So if the children are constantly given and pampered and everything's there, then they end up growing as these sort of entitled kids. We have so much of that today. Entitlement. My goodness. It's like a disease nowadays. I'm entitled to this, I'm entitled to that, I need this. You have to be a certain height, a certain look. You have to earn six figures of income. All of these ticks have to take place. That's because the swadharma of children is not exercised properly. So you can see how our entire generation suffers when swadharma of children isn't taken care of. Duty as an employer, duty as an employee, duty as to your country. What can I do for my country? Rather than complaining, let the country do for me. What little can I do for the country? If you're paying taxes, gladly pay taxes, because your own country is also taking care of you, infrastructure and so on. This way we can enjoy paying taxes now, because that's the fastest way to do something for your country. You can do something. What is your duty as a world citizen? Your swadharma as a world citizen. Uplift someone. Give someone something that they may need, but at the same time protecting yourself. Because when we give, there are people who will want to take advantage, who will challenge you. You want to have a good conversation with someone and they say, what school are you from? And then you tell them, I'm from Advaita. Oh, Advaita, this, come over, come to my school, it's much better. So you have to also, while being friendly, protect yourself, stand firm. That way we're not pushed around while serving the society, serving the citizenship. And what is across all of these categories, what is healthy swadharma in all of these situations? What is one common denominator of a healthy swadharma in all of these? What do you think it is? Having a relationship with Ishvara. And let's bring in more, something else.
Not hurting anyone, feeling compassionate.
Not hurting anyone. In other words, no matter what swadharma I do, there is a certain deliberation and an alertness that I am doing the best that I can for my well-being and equally for your well-being. That means you are thinking for the well-being of the other person. That is swadharma across the board in all categories. So am I taking care of your needs, and simultaneously are my needs being taken care of? Because in some cultures we learn to give. I am less important. Doesn't work like that. You come first. That's a fact. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. We do everything for our own sake. So as long as I'm healthy, strong, firm, inquirous, I can give the best to the other person. So are you taking care of yourself while you're giving? That's my question. Are you taking care of yourself while you're busy giving to the society, to the employer, to the family? I hope so. And are your actions considering their well-being? This is healthy Swadharma. Now, is your Swadharma necessarily pleasant? This is nice to hear because it's real now. Swadharma is not supposed to necessarily be pleasant. Not all Swadharmas are pleasant. There's challenges in every Swadharma, no matter what you do. You've got your own business, there are certain challenges. You work for someone, there are certain challenges. You teach, there are certain challenges. You come here, certain challenges. Any situation will bring you some situational challenges. And the way to deal with this is to recognize that you are uniquely put in this field. You have a unique place in this field of Ishvara. A unique place. It's not like you're just a random putting together here. You have a unique place. You have a unique personality, unique strengths, unique life, unique friends, unique connections, unique associations. You live in a unique life situation. And Ishvara put you here. So this means now you become a Bhakta partner, Bhakta employee, Bhakta spouse, Bhakta daughter, Bhakta son, Bhakta father, Bhakta mother. Why a Bhakta? Because you're only ever devoting to the altar of Ishvara. When you put Bhakta in front of your name, it makes you more deliberate and more devotional. Because you really are a Bhakta. We've always been a Bhakta. We just never looked at it that way. Okay? So every role brings you a challenge. How do I deal with this challenge? There are many ways, but I will give you just a general way. Recognizing this is a manifestation of Ishvara. And I'm put in this unique situation to do what is to be done. And I will do my best. Now you are ready to move to Samanya Dharma. Samanya Dharma. These are universal ethical values. And this is more or less, I know that I don't want to be hurt, and I know that you don't want to hurt me. Everyone knows this. And in knowing this, I have to still set boundaries, as I said, because in your participation in the world, you will feel challenges, you will be challenged, and you have to have certain amount of boundaries that are firmly known to other people around you. Otherwise, we don't know. We often resort to assuming. I assume, I think I know what you want. Is this ever true? Suppose I assume, I think, I know her, I know him for 5 years, for 1 year. I know what they want. No, that's a very dangerous game to play. So this means that Samanya Dharma also involves asking, being clear. Otherwise, one little assumption, and that leads to a whole trajectory of problems down the road. Now, suppose you have set boundaries, but the other person doesn't comply. They don't follow through what you want. What do? Suppose you've done your verbal statement, this is not fair, this is not fulfilling my needs, and they're not listening to you. They just don't follow through. Because they're too comfortable, right? Taking you for granted, or it's been a long relationship. What do? But suppose you've set boundaries and they're still not they still cross them once in a while.
You just played your part. You cannot do anything.
Play your part.
Take
Time out. Possibility, very much. Something more, a little bit more firmer. Time out, I'm going. I'll come back at this time. You can, because you're an independent human being. Take a little break. Another thing to do is you can potentially ask them a question, because a question challenges them to rethink the situation. Like, have you thought about, what else could be done here? Have you thought about my feelings? I'm just wondering. You may not even want an answer, but it's going to get them to think. This is how they negotiate in some tricky situations. If you come up to me and you got a strong resistance to me, then what I don't do is I don't give you statements, because you're going to deny them, every one of them. You're going to throw them out. I just change my approach. I start asking questions, innocent, and okay, I'm curious. What makes you think like this? Okay, and when did you start to feel this first time? How did you come to this conclusion? Would it be okay if this happens? I'm just wondering. What about that? What do you think could be the solution in this situation? I'm a little bit baffled right now. What would you do if our roles were swapped? Just curious. Ask a question. Works very well. I'm not saying do it, I'm just saying try something different. And then the last part of the verse says, doing actions for my sake leads to success. Doing actions for the sake of Ishvara leads to success. So basically, more or less, you're converting this me, being a constant consumer, me, my time, my little life, my investments, into a contributor. You change that role. What little can I do in this situation? How can I help out in this situation? What can I give? What are my strengths? What value can I contribute? This is lovely. In that case, why does it lead to success? Because the other person will appreciate it, and you will feel good giving. Therefore, what will you give? This is my question. You can give a game. Let's play a little game. Let's go on a little trip. Let me prepare a special dinner for you, a surprise dinner. Let me do a little poem. Let's create a poem together. That's fun. Haiku poems from Japan. See what happens. Let's play a story. Once upon a time, there lived a beautiful girl in the forest. And then, keep going. And she heard God say, So what will you do different in the relationship that will lead to success? I promise you there is always something new. There are so many nice things to do to reconnect, to find that new spark. It's absolutely possible. I have a little on my OneNote. I have play ideas. There's about 50 play ideas I can pull off. I've got the riddles. I've done some with Evelina. I've got stories, rapping. I've got some, questions like create headlines. Like this a massive storm approaching, and now I have to now create a little story, 1-minute story based on a massive storm approaching, and just keep speaking non-stop for 1 minute. Massive storm approaching, clouds darkening, thunder booming. Create a story, 1 minute, go. Don't stop. And then you create another story for your partner. You give him something very ridiculous. Purple clown fox falls inside a rabbit hole. What do I say now? Imagination. So what I'm really saying is connect. And this is an opportunity. I can either do something different, or not do anything at all. It's all up to you. Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Avashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.